All right, I think we are live, everybody. How's everyone doing? Coming to you from Minnesota and from the
Uh,
UK.
yeah,
You're in
North
the
York.
UK, right?
I'm in North Yorkshire, UK. Yeah.
Yorkshire. Oh man, awesome! I love York. It's one of my favorite places I've been to in the UK. So my family and I are looking forward to getting back there. So how
Yeah,
you doing, man?
you're not welcome here.
Uh,
Just so you know, there's literally graffiti on the walls around here, so I wouldn't come back if I were you. I don't know what you did, but don't come back.
it was totally my kids. My kids did it.
Yeah, was it that pesky daughter of yours?
Yeah, it is totally her. The daughters are always the trouble.
Yeah, tell me about it, mate. Tell me about it. Yeah, your daughter I found incredibly intimidating on the tour. I don't like people who are a third my age and twice as smart. So
I totally understand how that goes. So we
yeah,
got a bunch of people. Looks like we're up to 120. We'll probably get a couple hundred more by the time we're all said and done here. So how you doing, man? What's going on?
do a Renford Rejects reunion. That is niche, man. Everything's going on, buddy. I'm prepping for a couple of tours. We're just taking a bit of a hiatus from the podcast for different reasons, but yeah, no, I'm busy, busy like Thin Lizzy, man. How you doing? Can I
Uh,
just? I'm asking here, West Bromwich Albion. What's that about?
all right. So I've been into what you guys call football. So I'll use that term football for about 10 years now since my kids started playing. And when I really started getting into watching it, I wanted to pick a team, but I didn't want to be like all the other Americans and pick one of the big six and be just a Manchester United fan or something. So
You didn't want to pick a
I
good one. No.
Yeah, but I should have picked a better one. So it actually came down to because I wanted to pick a team that was local to where my family came from, which was uh, north of Birmingham, and it came down to Aston Villa and West Brom, and I chose poorly.
Really did. Goodness me. What a
So the
life.
year I
What a
the
life.
year I started cheering for West Brom, they actually both teams were in the championship, and they played each other in the playoffs to see who would make it back to the Premier League, and Villa won, and they've been there ever since. So didn't work out for me.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh well. You're still representing. That's a good thing.
Yep, and I actually had a guy ask me about it here in Minneapolis. He wanted to know that story too about how I ended up. He was in Starbucks, and he was wanting to know how an American would end up rooting for a team like this. So are you like a Leeds United fan or something, or who's your
No,
team?
I should be because everyone at my school was a Leeds United fan. I actually went to school up here in Yorkshire, but I am a QPR fan. So
Oh, nice.
why I'm taking the mick out of West Brom, I've no idea. And that is to do with somebody on here mentioned Brentford Rejects, which is a show I was in when I was a kid. And we actually shot an episode at QPR
Oh,
uh,
nice.
during a match. And we got a guy called Stan Bowles, who you may or may not have heard of, was a QPR legend. He was a sort of George Best type of ilk of
Oh,
player.
yeah.
And he was in the episode as well. And from then, I used to go back and watch games there all the time. And I've been a QPR fan ever since.
I probably should have chosen Leeds United because the owners of Leeds United live like 3 miles from me. They
Oh,
live in the same town as me. Yeah, because they own the San Francisco 49ers, and now they own Leeds United as well. So
I was going to say, ask him if you can borrow some money.
yeah, really. Yeah, I didn't even know they did. They live like back in the woods. You can't see their house from anywhere because these rich people in the middle of all of us
Yeah, yeah.
schmucks. All right. So you were talking about the tours. So we've had what, 4 tours so far. First one
Yes.
was Eindhoven,
Mm-hmm.
and that was awesome. That was just a 1 day tour, and we did a lot on that day, kind of seeing all the sites, Easy Company, Market Garden, stuff like that. And then we did 2 in Bastogne.
Yep.
What, November, and then what was it, back in end of January, and then
Yeah.
Normandy.
I didn't think November was cold enough. So I
Well,
brought
you made up for
everybody
that in
down.
January. We got the cold in January for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the best moments that I just had this like idea pop into my head, and I was like, you know what I should do is I should dig everybody out of bed at 6 a.m. and we should go to the foxholes in the dark, in the snow. And I thought I made it optional, and I thought 3 people are going to turn up, and I'm going to be one of them, and the bus driver's going to be the other one, and everybody showed up.
It
It
was
was
awesome. It was really cool. It was pitch dark when we got there, and then we were there when the sun came up in the foxholes, and that was a really cool experience. And it's the kind of stuff that you only get to do if you're part of these tours, right? So,
yeah,
uh,
you probably
so
too.
so tell me about the 2 that are coming up here.
We're sort of doing them back to back, Chris. There's this kind of a funny Chris Mowry story for followers of Flogging Through History. So I was on the bus in Normandy, and I was sort of pitching ideas as to where we should go next. So I get on the microphone on the bus and I say, "Hey guys, where would the best place to go on tour be? What do you reckon?" Voice from the back of the bus. It's Chris Mowry. Austria, Berchtesgaden. So I was like, "Okay, I'll do one to Austria, Berchtesgaden." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not coming." So
I'm kind of coming.
I know what you're doing. You've got some. I'm joking with you. I know you've got your thing going on. So we're gonna do Berchtesgaden with JD Hewitt, actually, who's History Underground. He's coming, as is Eric Dorr, and they've got all this stuff figured out in and around Berchtesgaden. It's basically we're going to be in Berchtesgaden for a couple of days, and then the end of it, I think we're going to go to Zellamzee and then business stuff just to round it out. And then that's on the 14th, 15th of October. So if you fancy coming, do come. And then if you're coming from abroad or whatever, you can stay the week, go to Munich and drink beer out of really, really tall glasses, because then the following weekend, which is, I believe, the 21st, 22nd of October, we are going back to Eindhoven. But we're going to do 2 days, and we're going to do the British sector. We're going to do sort of actually John Frost Bridge and in and around that stuff. And there's cemeteries we're going to go to and pay our tributes and stuff. Because my father is, you always are, he's not now obviously, but he's a British paratrooper. He was in 2 para. And so the scepter of Arnhem weighed heavily on us growing up. It's still an incredibly raw wound amongst the British airborne, and always will be. So it's very special for me that we go there. So I pushed for one day to do that, and then the second day we're going to do American drop zones and all that sort of stuff. And we may do some band stuff as well, because we'll have different people coming. So there's some of the photo opportunities at Schonderlocht, which is that arch with. And we may do the Crossroads, but before anybody asks, I'm not running it again. I did it once. When you're an actor, there are people waiting with water at the end and dap your brow and you sit down. It's in actuality about 4 times as long as the one we had on the Hatfield set. When I started off full of vim and gusto, by the end I was crawling and I sort of embarrassed myself, and I just saw a comment, "Did Chris run it?" No, he didn't. He jogged.
Wait a second. Yes, I jogged. Okay, I jogged.
He jogged lightly to the bus. The bus was leaving. That's what. This is how Vlogging Through History. They trick you with cameras.
In my defense, I did not have running shoes on.
Yeah. In West Bromwich Albion sliders, he was jogging lightly for the bus. No, you did do some running, didn't you? Was it you and Stan?
I did, yeah. I think Sanders in here in the chat. He filmed me doing that. We never made it live because it was embarrassing to watch. But yeah, I did do the run, and it's quite a little jog there.
It really is. It is.
But it really does look just like what you see on Band of Brothers. I mean, and you said the set was the same too, like identical.
Well, that might be the most idiotic thing I've ever said. But when I first went, and possibly not actually knowing, but when I first saw the Crossroads, when I did a first tour there, and I got out and I had a look, I was like, oh my God, it looks exactly like the set. Which, of course, is a moronic thing to say, because no, the set looked exactly like the Crossroads. But it looks exactly like it.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing as somebody, obviously I didn't see the set, but watching it on TV, probably more than anything else in the whole series, you go to the Crossroads and you know exactly where everything happened after having seen it on TV. Like, you can tell that's where they ran from. That's where the ditch was where Dukeman was killed. And here's the dike where the Germans were on the other side. It's just so easy to visualize after seeing it on TV.
Yeah, and the only difference, and what we sort of get questions, you must get questions like this as well. Winters pulls the pin on his smoke grenade and throws it. And he's been, you actually see him tape it up. It doesn't kind of go. The reason why he gets there so much faster than everybody else, it's not entirely sort of made certain in the show. It's because he was a hell of an athlete.
Yeah. He was just that much faster than everybody else. Yeah.
Much faster than everybody else, and that much fitter. And I guess everyone else maybe they were carrying more gear. I don't know, but he got there as fast as he did because he was supremely fit and an athlete.
And it's interesting, reading the book and obviously in the series, there has to be creative license. You don't have the time to tell every story. You don't have the ability to put every single character into it. So you have to combine things, change things. And but in the book, there's the part where Winters actually throws a grenade at that German soldier. The German soldier throws one at him, and Winters, his grenade was taped, and so it didn't go off. And I noticed after reading that, there's a scene, I think it's when you guys, when they bust into the barn at the beginning of that scene, he's taping grenades.
I've got
at the end. Yeah.
I've got my dog, which, by the way, hated me.
I was going to ask you about that dog, because I remember you saying it was the hardest actor to work with.
That's the worst actor I've ever worked with. That thing, canine professional or whatever she called it, was bloody horrible. Hated me. So I've got the dog, and then you see him taping. He's like, tell the dog and all that stuff. That's when he's actually taping that grenade. What's cool about that is it who comes in? Somebody comes in to speak to me. I can't remember whoever I'm supposed to be speaking with in that scene. It could have been Rick Gomez, actually. He was on another set when we rehearsed. That was all shot through the night. He was on another set, and Tom Hanks was directing that episode. And he was like, "Oh, well, okay, let's rehearse it." And he read the lines in. So I was acting with Tom Hanks, and he had a script, and it was incredible. He just transformed in front of me to someone way younger, and just the character straight away. And he said his line, and he's just looking at me, and I was just looking in like, and I was like, "I'm sorry, you're gonna have to start again." That was incredible. I was totally starstruck with the entire thing, to be honest with you.
So, what was it like working with Tom Hanks on that episode?
It's in a sentence, it's as good as you think it would be. However, an amazing experience you'd think it would be to be directed by Tom Hanks for a month. It was as good as that, if not more. I remember being clinically depressed for 2 weeks after when he left. He's just got that energy that you imagine he has. You know what I mean? He just makes you feel good, and he's a big guy. I think not a lot of people know that. He doesn't look.
No, yeah.
He's a big, burly, strong, tough guy as well. He's a tough guy. Like, you don't mess around with Tom Hanks. But he just makes you feel like so empowered and so good with everything he does. And he's like that with everybody. He has time for everybody. He's been up at 5 a.m. He's been directing. He's got all this stuff on his shoulders. He's probably prepping a movie, all this stuff. And, there's 10 seconds where he might just have, there's nobody talking to me. And someone from catering will sidle up with 15 photographs, of him in, I don't know, Turner and Hooch. Can you sign these, please? And he does. He's just got time everywhere. I don't know where he gets his time and energy from, but no, he was great. But I mean, he's just an inspired man when it comes to that particular part of history and those stories. He's absolutely inspired, and it just filters through him to everybody else. Two reasons: you want to do the best because it's him, and you want to do the best because he's into it as much as he is.
So before I forget, because we were talking about the tours, I do have links in the description of the video to the website, to your YouTube channel, and stuff about the podcast. So if people want to look at the tours, you can go to the website and get the information and buy your tickets right there on the website for the tours.
I noticed, because I'm not bad. I think my eyes can move independently like a lizard. I did notice someone was like, "OMG, is that the guy from the History Underground coming up?" Yes, it is. He's coming.
Yeah, that's him, and he will be on, I think, the Austria tour, right? He and Eric Dorr will be on that one.
Yeah, but I'm going to make him shave his beard, because he gets recognised everywhere he goes, and it's starting to get on my nerves. It's all about me, so I'm going to make him shave his beard.
So, and we were talking about the fact that this will be the first time that I'm not on the tour, but I will be around, because I have my own tour going on. We're starting in Munich. We're going to be in Salzburg, and we're going to be in Salzburg the same nights you guys are in Salzburg. I think our hotels are like a mile apart or something like that. So I'll definitely be around in the evenings. We'll definitely catch up with everybody who's on that tour. So,
wait, are you hitting on me right now?
I don't think my wife's watching, so it's okay.
I'm totally into it, Chris.
JD says his wife wouldn't recognize him without a beard, so that's a
I
no-go.
know. Yeah. His wife has never seen him without a beard.
That is awesome. And nobody's ever seen me with a beard because I can't grow one like the rest of you people can. So
Yeah, starting to think that you and JD are the same person. You just tripping in and out of bed.
exactly. So so I want to ask you, speaking of Band of Brothers,
Yeah.
on one of our first, I think it was the Eindhoven tour, you shared some stories, and I wanted to ask you in particular to share the story about the time Dick Winters, the real Dick Winters, visited the set.
Okay, so that was during, as the episode we were talking about, the episode that Tom Hanks was directing. And Tom Hanks directed most of that episode, and a lot of actors would do this chronologically. Usually you jump all around the place, but so he started at the beginning and went to the end, so you feel the journey. And one of the last scenes that we did was where everyone gets on the trucks and they're being driven into Bastogne because obviously they can't jump, and they're just like, get people to plug this gap. So we are in the back of a deuce and a half truck, and there's me and Rick Spate Jr. and Malarkey, I think, and Ramirez, and a few of us in the back of this truck, as well as Tom Hanks' son. And it's, I don't even know what time it is. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're all goofing around. And suddenly there had been this rumor that Dick Winters was coming down to set, the real Dick Winters. And suddenly the canvas, it was actually like that scene in episode 2 where the canvas comes up in the truck. The canvas comes up in the truck, and Ivan Schwartz is stood there, who was one of the producers on Band of Brothers. He's a big guy, really cool guy. And he had with him this tiny little fella, smaller than me. I mean, I could put my arm around like this. And it was Dick Winters. And Dick Winters looked into the truck, took a second, his face went sheet white, all the blood drained out of his face. And he motioned to Ivan Schwartz, and he said something to him, and Ivan Schwartz nodded, and they got in the car and they drove off, and he drove him straight to the airport, and he went straight back home again. Because he said that it seemed to him like he was just looking into the faces of ghosts when he went into the back of that deuce and a half. And that's the sort of thing when you hear it back, that even as a cocky 25-year-old, which I was, we all were, just stops time and it's cold shivers down your spine. It was just an amazing moment. And that was one of the times I met Dick Winters, other than at Roland Garros, where there was a big party when we did the premiere, and he was there then, and I got to go and put my arm around him, and I put my arm around him and I said, "Hey, I play Talbot," and he's like, "Oh, my guardian angel." And then I looked across the room at this guy, this bald guy, who was looking at me. And
Spears.
Yeah. I was like, who's that guy really staring at me weirdly? And he's like, "Yeah, that's Spears." I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm not going to go put my arm around him."
Don't take any cigarettes from him either.
Cigarettes. Just don't go anywhere near him, I think is probably a good idea.
So a couple of people have been asking you about how you were able to speak with an American accent, how you were able to, can you talk a little bit about how you were able to become an American for this? Yeah.
You want me to do my party trick, don't you? Okay, so, well, first up, I'm a complete accent nerd. There isn't really an accent I can't do. And that's not me showing off. It's me having worked on it phonetically like a total nerd. But the reason that Americans can't do a very good English accent, but English people can do an American accent, is that there is no English in an American accent. It is a cross between old school Dutch and Irish. This is just a general American accent, not a modern one. So what you do is you break the American accent into two. And on one side, you have that sort of Dutch sound that sounds a little bit like you were in a movie in the 70s. On the other side, you got the Irish that sounds a bit like that, the kind of lilting Irish together. And you get the Dutch and the Irish together. And when you put them together, you get an American accent that kind of sounds like this.
Awesome.
That's how you do it.
All right, now I want to know, can you do a Geordie accent?
Oh, yes. What would you like me to say?
I don't know. Tell me something about how good Newcastle's going to do this year.
All right, man. Will a Geordie accent that's right at the front of the mouth like this, man? And Newcastle. They don't say Newcastle. Newcastle. It's Newcastle. Newcastle are going to fucking great this season, man. You just ram everything together. Ram it together. And do you know what? I was away from England for a while, and I started to lose my ear on English accents. And I two German people talking, and I thought it was a Geordie accent.
Oh.
How we a Geordie, man? How we a Geordie? It's all the front of the mouth like this, man. Goes up and down.
So my family being from the West Midlands,
Birmingham.
Birmingham, everybody tells me is the worst English accent there is.
It honestly is. It just sounds.
I know they love to like letters that or words that end in G. They say it like running, kind of like Tom Hanks does as Forrest Gump. I was running.
Big. Yeah, Birmingham. Peaky Blinders.
I was going to say watch Peaky Blinders, and you can hear the Brummie accent right there
with the subtitles on.
All right, so before we even started today, people were asking me if you have any good stories about the times other than the story we just talked about with Dick Winters, but hanging out with the veterans, guys like obviously the first ones that come to mind would be Babe and and Garnier.
Quite a lot of them are X-rated.
Yeah, fair. All right, one you can share or you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay. It's still slightly X-rated, but I mean, these boys are
go for it. It's fine.
So, in Paris, for the premiere of Band of Brothers, we all went to Paris for like a week. And we went down to Canton, and then we went out to the beach and all that kind of stuff. So for a week, we're in this really expensive hotel on the Boulevard Haussmann, and HBO are just throwing down, just do whatever you want. So everyone just goes, well, nobody can outdrink Bill and Babe. In fact, nobody can outdrink any of the veterans, but Bill and Babe are literally at the bar holding court for a week. I don't know whether they slept. And I hung out with them almost the whole time because I was like, these are far more interesting than any of these actors. I had a girlfriend at the time who she was quite well endowed in the chest, and he Bill was sat up a bit, and she had a drink in front of her, and he was chatting to her and engaging her, and every so often he just kept moving her drink slightly forward, moving her drink slightly forward, and moving her drink slightly forward. So by the end, she used to have to lean right over like that to get the drink, and when she was leaning right over, he'd just look at me and go, and wink at me.
You know what? I think they earned it. They can do whatever they want like that, as long as they're.
I mean, that's low level stuff. I think Babe got himself into a fight with a German person in the elevator after being in Paris for about 30 seconds. It was carnage. That week was absolute carnage. It was one of the best fun weeks ever.
So did you guys was there a lot of downtime while you were filming, and did you hang out together with any of the other actors? And
yeah,
was there anybody in particular you were close to or spent a lot of time with?
Yes. This story doesn't paint me in a very good light. There was a lot of downtime on account of the fact that they would just blanket call everybody. They had them should they need them, even if they needed you 3,000 meters away from the camera.
I was going to say, because you still have to be in shots even when you're not speaking, right?
So there would be a lot of time where you were just kicking around, mucking around and that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of downtime and a lot of fooling around, a lot of card playing and stuff. But there was also a lot of partying that went on, as young men do. And I became quite close with, up to that point, an absolute hero of mine, which was Mark Warren, who played Blythe. Now, Blythe, he looks super intense, Mark Warren. He's got those big blue eyes, and he's been in a lot of stuff beforehand that I loved. I think he's a great actor. And so I was completely in awe of him. Turns out he's an absolute idiot. He's just a complete... He's just got really big, intense eyes. That's all I've ever met. And he and I stayed. He was like, "Yeah, you want to come out? You want to go out? You want to do this?" And it was sort of I was then later warned. They were like, "You haven't gone out with Mark Warren, have you? Because he's like legendary. He's like someone from like the '60s. Do you know what I mean? He's like one of the Peter O'Toole characters." So I went out and hung out with him for a couple of weeks, and I still think I'm recovering now. I don't think my lip quite replaced itself. He's just one of those guys that thrives on being just a big time, hard drinking, hard partying, crazy guy, but can thrive off it. I unfortunately can't. But yeah, he was great for like he's a real like character, like legendary character, Mark.
Nice. So let's switch gears a little bit. Talk about the podcast. Tell us a little bit about the We Happy Few podcast.
Well, sort of, it span out of the Zoom cast that we did, where we did. It was a COVID thing. The whole We Happy COVID. We were just looking for something to do. I met Leighton, and we came up with these ideas of doing Zoom cast reunions of Band of Brothers. So we went through all the episodes 1 to 10 in different orders, and got as best as we could principal cast members. So we started with Shane and Lucy, the doc and the nurse, at 6, and we got the director on as well. And we did an hour-long Zoom cast. And then episode 9, and we got Jimmy Madio and Ross McCall and Rick Gomez on that one, and also the writer, John Orloff. So we went through all of that stuff, which is great, except, of course, there's only 10 episodes, so there's a finite amount of stuff you can do there. So then we decided to launch a podcast as well, and then spin-off. We've had quite a few of the band members on, but we've had Pacific guys on, and we've had Memphis Belle guys on, and all sorts of stuff. And it's just a chance of us to sort of flex our history nerdness a little bit. We've got a sort of series of stuff at the moment with the historian Joe Muccia, who's actually doing the history behind each episode of Band of Brothers. We've had SAS guys on, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's just fun. It's just a sort of nerd out, and half of it's that sort of thing, and half of it's a sort of incredible agony of being an actor type of self-indulgent stories. But they're always kind of fun as well. Yeah, it's a fun listen. You should come and join us. It is a fun listen.
Yes. So and then I'm guessing maybe once Masters of the Air comes out, maybe try and get some of those guys too.
Yes. Well, yes. I think one of the leads in Masters of the Air is Raffi Law, who's Jude Law's son.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Holly Davidson, who I was in Renford Rejects with, someone bringing that up on here. That's her niece, so nephew rather. So I've got an in to get him on. So hopefully he can be our first guest. Well, nice. I do plan on doing a Masters of the Air tour actually next year. That's
very cool.
We've actually got a historian in place for that and everything. Because
we're pretty. My family's pretty excited about that one. My wife's grandfather was a ball turret gunner on a B-17. So,
really?
Yeah, he was a little guy, so he was down. Yeah. Oh man, and he was the quietest.
Can't think of anything worse. There's nowhere less likely to be in a combat at that time than the ball gunner. It must have been absolutely terrifyingly claustrophobic.
Oh. Yeah, I can't imagine that. So we'll. I've got links to all that stuff. I got a link to your YouTube channel because I know those Zooms are on there, right? That you guys did. They're on the channel.
Yeah.
All right, so let's switch gears, and I'm going to ask you a couple of stuff about your personal life now. So besides Band of Brothers, which is obviously your favorite show of all time, what are your favorite TV shows and movies that you have really gotten into in the last few years?
Like stuff on Netflix and stuff?
Anything, yeah.
I thought The Queen's Gambit was unbelievable.
Ooh, yeah.
I think most of the performances I'm thinking about are girls that are just smashing it because I love her. She's fantastic. And then did you watch Mrs. Maisel, the amazing
Yes.
Miss Maisel? She is stunning actress as well. That whole show is brilliant. Everybody in that show is so good. The dad and the guy that plays comedian, whatever his name is, the heroin addicted comedian. That's Lenny Bruce. The guy that plays Lenny Bruce is unbelievable as well. Yeah, those are fantastic. I'm a bit of a sort of documentary nerd as well, though. I like watching documentaries about sports that I know nothing about. There's a good one on the Tour de France on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good. That's really good.
Have you seen any? Somebody said the link doesn't work. I'll take care of that. I'll fix it here shortly. Have you seen one of the ones that really got to me, and this is up in Yorkshire, is I think it's in Yorkshire, Sunderland Till I Die. Is Sunderland in Yorkshire?
I am working for a fella at the moment. Oh, I almost told you the code to his house, actually. Because no, I better not tell him. But you could work it out if you knew about Sunderland, and he is a highly successful man, except he's a Sunderland fan. So part of his soul is missing. Like he's just whole life has just been this. He just Sunderland Till I Die. It's just, you just know they're gonna fail. It's like there's something. It's almost like the Scottish football team. It's like no matter what, you know something is gonna go wrong. No matter how good they are, how much like you think, yes, this time something goes wrong. So I saw a comment down in the comments about Gianfranco Zola, because we had Gianfranco Zola on our show, Redford Rejects. And actually, weirdly that you asked that, I was actually thinking about him just before I came on here. What was he like? I think Alex Ferguson described him as the one player he hated the most. Kind of couldn't work out how to get to because he wouldn't stop smiling. He's like, why does he not stop smiling? He was just like that. He's just the smiliest, nicest, wonderful guy. And of course, genius, footballing genius. However, in the show, there was a camera on him. There was one shot, there's a camera on him. He has to slalom through a bunch of people and score. And they also had a camera behind the goal so they could get the ball going in. And he slaloms through everybody and missed an open goal from about 3 feet, which made the blooper reel for that year. It was fantastic. Gianfranco Zola missing an open goal.
So I see a lot on social media. You're always out doing hikes, and you love to be outside a lot. So what else do you like to do for fun when you're not doing all this stuff?
Crikey. I don't know. I don't get a lot of time, man. I've got 2 kids at a weird age. I've got a 17-year-old. He's the guy I do most of the hiking with. And then I've got a 4-year-old.
So, oh, boy, yeah.
Entire life is this sort of sun up, sun down, moon down of just like doing stuff with my son and hiking and all this stuff. And then just having to play bonkers games with my daughter early in the morning. So I don't know that I'm a cricket fanatic. I used to play in a league up here. Love playing cricket. I'm also a rugby fanatic. So there's a Rugby World Cup coming up, and the warm-up games start this weekend. So that's my one sanctuary when no one disturbs me, is when the rugby's on. Usually because I'm screaming at the television so everybody leaves. Yeah, that's my guilty pleasure is rugby. I'm an absolute nut.
Nice. So somebody asked, what's your favorite accent?
Northern Irish.
Oh, nice. What's unique about the Northern Irish accent that you like so much?
The musicality of it. That every single word is different. With the Northern Irish accent, everything goes up and down like this the whole time. So it's kind of, I don't know whether they did on purpose, but everything sort of goes up and down and then up and down all the time. You start listening to people and you can find yourself falling asleep, you know. So that's my favorite. Also, the one that took me the longest to learn.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Makes sense.
During the it was years ago, and I had this audition for a movie, and it was set in Northern Ireland. And like I was this really young actor, really keen, so I just back in the day when I could do it, I just got on like an EasyJet flight. I'm going to Northern Ireland, and it was still during the time of the Troubles. And there's this English guy sat in a pub trying to listen to people in Belfast, and no one wanted to talk to me. So it did take me quite a while to wear people down to actually talk to me so I could learn it.
So another question for you right now, in terms of talking sports in America, really big, the whole story of Wrexham with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. Is that something that people are talking a lot about in England too, or is that just something that's more of an American thing?
I think it's kind of more an American thing. I think people like it, but it's so tribal that even if grudgingly you're looking at that thinking that is fantastic and just real life Ted Lasso, I still think nobody can say go on Wrexham, because you cannot go against the colours that you bleed. Obviously, you bleed blue and white. You know, you just cannot say go on Wrexham at all.
Right.
So I think it's fun. It would be cool if they started to go up the leagues point where it's like, oh my goodness, like, there's serious contenders now. Then I think that would be fantastic. I personally love it because I'm not that big a footy fan. But I think it's great. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, so I bet you mentioned Leighton earlier. Leighton's Welsh, and he and I have been talking off and on. The next time I get over to the UK, we want to try and catch a Wrexham game. It gives me an excuse to go to Wales. So,
okay, don't ask for directions in Wales. You'll be washing spit out of your hair for a week.
All right, so I'm just catching up with the questions here real quick. I don't see anything else.
I have 3 questions.
Yeah, okay.
I go. Okay.
Okay.
I did something similar with JD. So, who won the World Cup in 1974?
Brazil?
No.
I just went with the best possibility there. Who was it?
West Germany.
Really? Wow. Okay. A lot of people in the chat don't even know there was a West Germany in 1974.
Okay. What year was the Battle of Blenheim?
Oh boy. See, I knew the questions you asked JD. Let's see. Was that a battle during the
Spanish?
Oh, okay.
Succession.
So 1652. I don't know. What year was it?
1704.
Oh.
Okay, and this one is the all-important one. Well, that's a wide breach of. West Germany's great. Yeah, that's because Gerd Muller was playing, my favorite player of all time. In a hypothetical fist fight between J.D. Hewitt from the History Underground and you, who wins?
JD does, because he actually works out and I don't, and he has that epic beard, and that alone gives him the edge. So
I wouldn't want to get tangled up in that. I also feel like he might have like people in there that he keeps.
But the funny thing is, surprisingly, JD and I are about the exact same height and the exact same weight. So I think in terms of that, it would be pretty even. But he works out and I don't, so I think I'd probably be in trouble.
Okay, point taken. Okay, good.
All right,
those are my only 3 idiotic questions for you, Dave.
So I will make sure all the links are working in the description. So if people are watching this back later on, they'll be able to check everything out. But We Happy Few 506 is the podcast. It's also the website, wehappyfew506.com. People can check out the links for the tours there. And JD and Eric will be on the first one. And I believe who's with you on that one as well? Doug Allen's going to be on that one, right?
Doug Allen's going to be in Eindhoven.
He's going to be in Eindhoven.
We've got the guy that plays O'Keefe, Matt Hickey, the young lad that they're always teasing and calling O'Brien and stuff. He's coming down. He's actually really good form. He's a really good guest. He was great on the Zoom that we did. Really
and we've had, I should have mentioned it earlier, just some of the past guests. I mean, we had Mark Lawrence, who played Dukeman, was with us in the first Eindhoven tour. That was an amazing experience because we actually got to be there when he visited the site where Dukeman was killed for the very first time. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, when I asked him to come on that, he was over in New York. He called me and was like, "Yeah, mate, but I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to cry the whole time." And he was true to his word.
Yeah. And all of these guys have just been fantastic. Phil McKee was awesome. We had him in Bastogne with us, and being someone whose family, a lot of my family comes from Scotland, it was great being with somebody from Glasgow. So, and we had Tim Matthews on the first one.
Yeah.
Kampala. Yeah.
We managed to get Shane and Lucy for about 45 in Bastogne. That was the biggest wrangle of my life, getting those two together.
But it was great, and they hadn't seen each other in years, right?
Years, yeah, 20 years.
So so that was really cool. So there's always something like that on these tours. There's those memories, those things you'll never forget, and it really is a family, right? I mean, all these people there. We've got this whole collection of people who have been on these tours, and we're all friends with each other. We all talk to each other in between tours, and just amazing people. If you get a chance, definitely check them out.
There's a WhatsApp group of everybody that I wasn't invited to. So.
Wait, there is? I'm not in that.
Oh no, I should have brought it up. They told me not to.
I'm in one with a few of the guys because we're planning a trip to Verdun in November. So I'll come home from Austria and then go back in 2 weeks to go to Verdun. So
good Lord, the life of a YouTuber.
I know, right? And of course, I'm here in Minneapolis for Project X. You know what it is, but I'm not talking about it. So I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to say on social
I'm gonna
media
hype
yet
up
what it
your thing.
is.
I'm gonna hype up your thing as you've hyped up my thing. It's fantastic, and I'm really proud of you that you've got this. And hopefully, I'm not giving too much away by saying this, but have you done a history? Have you done a vlogging through history on the Battle of Vimy Ridge?
I have not. That is probably the one major battle on the Western Front from World War One I haven't been to yet.
Oh, because I'm
I think JD just went there.
Diddy, because
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you do that, I'm ding my bell, because that's my. I mean, I nerd out to that almost weekly.
Oh, the Canadians on the Western Front were just. I mean, they were probably the best soldiers in World War One. Just phenomenal. And Vimy Ridge is like
just
one of their.
Because I live up in Catterick, which is the home of the army in the north up here, and there's like Bing Road and Bing this and Bing that. Because I mean, that guy was an absolute genius. So it's a wonderful story. Anyway, I can see you trying to round up, and I don't want to take too much time.
No, you're fine.
You've been up since 3:00 in the morning Eastern time. You're a trooper. You're a true trooper, and also you are personally keeping Chick-fil-A in business, which is good. Well, listen, brother. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime. Take care, Matt.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome. All right, I think we're good. Yep.